Alright, so this is where we're currently at. So $10,600. It hasn't really done much at all. Like, the engine's still there, all the parts are here, panels are still on the ground, the shell is painted obviously, but yeah, that's $10,600 so far. And so far the paint has only costed a little over $2,000. So beer's pretty expensive though. Yeah, so the expensive part was pretty much the driveline sort of area, which will get a little bit more expensive once I get to the point of having to get it all in the car and buy new stuff for it. Interior might be expensive as well because I've got to buy a new trim. There's a fair bit of stuff I've got to buy, so that might get a little expensive. So it's after Christmas now, it's actually New Year's tomorrow, and I haven't been filming everything I've been doing, but I painted the whole boot floor. It was covered in surface rust. It did have a few little pinholes of rust through here, so I just put seam sealer over the rust, and both the floor pans had a lot of surface rust too, so same situation, just use seam sealer in some of the corners and just use that enamel, matte black, that stuff. It goes on really good, just to stop any future rust coming through. So also painted the dashboard too. So all up here is painted satin black now. So that's out of the way. So out here, what I'm currently working on. So this is the boot lid off MCFRY. The metal one. Because I replaced it with a fiberglass one. And right here, it's 18.3 kilos. So how heavy it was. I think the fiberglass one was half the weight. Not really much, to be honest. But I've had this sitting up in that garden shed for a long time, and it's now got these little bubbles in the paint, so like blisters. So I'm gonna have to give that a really good sand, and yeah, get that painted and stuff. So I got my dad to bring 2 doors back from the farm. So this is the rear door. That was the one that had a lot of bog in it. This is the one I'm going to use. Still got original paint on it. No rust on the outside, but it did actually have rust down in that bottom corner, which is a pain in the ass. So I'll have to fix that. But overall, it's still a very straight door, so I'm definitely going to use that door. Let's go up to the garden shed. Alright, so this is the other front door from the farm. It actually very straight, like had original paint, everything. It was actually off the station wagon. We've got a station wagon down there, but that's what it's off. Yeah, it had original paint. Same colour I'm painting the car. And it did have a lot of rust on the bottom. So the drain holes in the bottom of the doors, once they get blocked, and what happens is the door fills up with water to around about here, and then the only place for the water to go is to leak out through here, to overflow and come down. So once water just sits in the door like that, it generally rusts the door out up high, like puts little dots everywhere. So there was at least 20 dots along the bottom of this door. I welded up, so it took me a while. There's also some rust here because it had one of those door strips. So there was actually rust here, and there was another hole over here somewhere. But I've welded all that up and paint stripped the door and everything, and then went over it with the strip disc. It's actually really straight, which is good. So I probably could have just used that door, to be honest, but I started taking the paint off this one, so I'm just using this one. But they're probably just as good as each other. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to try and get this in, I don't have any epoxy left, all you need. I'm going to get this in some all you need, and I'll have to do something with that boot lid too, so I'm going to work on the boot lid this, try and get them painted this week, get on the car, and then just keep chipping away at everything else. Slowly get the doors done, and then when it comes to do the front end, I'll probably have to do the chassis, so I'll have to pull the chassis out of the car. Yeah, that's for another video, so I'll be back in a jiffy. Alright, so after a little quick sand and a quick Google, I've noticed these little dots are called blistering, and it's when, well, the causes can be when there's moisture under the paint, so between the paint and the metal, or between the paint and the primer. In high humid conditions, which, because it's been sitting up in that shed, it's probably gotten extremely hot in there very often. I'd say it's brought out them little bubbles, and maybe when I painted this it might have been too cold, so it would have trapped, maybe it trapped moisture under the paint. Either way, I've now got a bare metal that, which sucks. I did have MCFRY's bonnet, it was up in there too, and it doesn't have any of these dots, so it might have just been the boot that was painted on a cold day when I did it, maybe. No idea. But yeah, so I'm gonna have to bare metal that really sucks. So extra work, but can't really paint over that. And yeah, so I'll paint strip that, get that off, and maybe today I'll just paint that door. Better than nothing. Well, it was funny because I thought that this door was ready to get the paint on, but then I thought it'd be stupid to do that if I didn't do some of the filler work first. So we spent the last 2 hours putting filler on, sanding with the old panel sander. I pretty much did the entire ute with that thing. So a fair bit of filler needed here. When I welded here, it dipped that in a little bit. I tried knocking it out and I gave up, so I just put filler in it. Little low area there, and there's kind of like a slight high spot here, so I had to build it up just over that whole area. So, and then just some little bits there, and that's it. Overall, a very, very good door. So now I'm going to put it back up in the shed and put the all you need on it, let it dry, and go from there. So here we are, boot lid is fully bare metaled. So I really think the cause of this, they're like actually the rust dots under the paint. And I think it's because I had a plastic sheet over it, and the plastic sheet would have held in a lot of like humid, sort of hot sort of air, and we had really bad mold recently. So it was very humid up in that shed because it leaks water all through the floor. So because I had it sitting up there for like a year and a half, 2 years, I'd say that with the plastic, it's just managed to get water under the paint somehow. I don't really know. Anyway, this is where we're at now. So I had to bare metal it, and this thing was very unstraight because originally this had acrylic paint on it originally, and I bare metaled it with one of those, and it actually warped this whole thing. So like this whole thing is like a banana. It's probably really hard to tell because I don't have any paint on, but this thing is it's just lumps and bumps everywhere. So it kind of needs a skim to get it straight, but I'm going to try and just go over all the dings that I can see. So there's a lot of dings on this thing. There's a big low section, I think. There's a big high section right here where it's pulled up, and it's low through there, and it's low through there, and just high in the middle. So it's a bit messed up, but it is a good boot. It's just warped. that's all. So yeah, gonna put some filler on it and get as much of the dents done as I can before I put the all you need on, just to make life easier with all you need. So I'm gonna do this now, and I'll get the door out of the shed because I've got to give it a final sand, and yeah, we'll go from there. Happy New Year's. Alright, so I just finished sanding all the bog. I just used the real lightweight sort of skim sort of bog that has minimum air holes, that sort of thing. So that was the main damaged warped area. It's also had like a little ding back here. I'm assuming these might just be for someone trying to push it down hard. Just had one there. That's it. So that's pretty much ready now to get some all you need put over the top. Probably just 2 coats. Give it a sand, see if there's any more low spots. If there is, put some more filler on, and so on and so forth. Alright, first sand of the door. This was probably about 3 coats all you need, and as you can see, these are the low spots that are kind of hadn't sanded out. So I used the panel sander over this, and these spots here. So I could try put another coat of all you need on and sand again, and it might not be enough to cover some of these low spots, especially that one. So I'm going to put that fine bog fill over all of these. Overall it's a very straight door, which is really good. So I'll put the fine bog on it and give it another sand, and then put 2 more coats all you need on, or 3, and then it can do the final sand, and then it's ready for paint. That's the bog on. That is bog sanded. So this is boot lid after good sand, and as you can see, it's not very straight at all. You can see the bits that would be like a big low spot there, high spot, and that's just how warped up this boot is. So I gave it a real good sand. Going to put on 3 coats all you need, and I reckon it'll be mint. So I'm going to chuck that on, and then I'll go work on the door again. Well, originally I said 1 more sand and I could do the paint, but I went through bare metal, not only on that, but on the door. So I'm going to put more coats of all you need on, and just be a lot more careful in sanding. I was just trying to get out every little ripple that I can in this thing, so I want it to be straight. Same with the door. The door's pretty much mint. I just went through right here in one spot, trying to get that little bit there out. So more all you need, and 1 more sand, and hopefully get the paint on. Well, by the end of the day I managed to get one of the doors in paint, thank God. So turned out really straight. Paint actually went on really good. Like, you know, there's a little bit of orange peel there, but it's actually not too bad. So I just put more thinners in and was very careful putting it on, because usually when you have panels hanging up, all the paint wants to do is run down the door, so gotta be very careful. Paint all the inside out. Door is done. Alright, so the boot is painted. I don't know if you can see how straight it is in here. I'll try and turn it. There we are. It turned out really good, so boot lid is done. Alright, so I finally got some motivation back. I've just been extremely lazy the last probably 2 weeks now. Just been getting into the habit of watching series on Netflix and drinking too much beer, and then no work's been getting done. So I've pulled my finger out again, and I'm back on the car again. So I'll show you where I'm at.
So this was the door off one of the other cars we had down at the farm. So this door is pretty much dead perfectly straight on the outside, not a single rust hole. The downside is it's got rust all on the inside where the door seal was, because the car was sitting outside. It's like there was dirt built up where the rubber was, and it was just started rusting around it. But so the rust is here. There's a heap of little dots. It's got that big chunk there, one there, couple little holes along here, a couple more here, a few pinholes there, and then at the back here it's got all this. I'm going to show you guys. Hang on, I'll just pause this for a second. I'll flip this around. So this side is really good. So I paint stripped it, and it is literally like a perfect door. So definitely putting this one on the car. I just got to, unfortunately, do something about this rust. I suppose the good point is that no one's going to see it, but I'd still like to try and do what I can to fix it. So I'm going to go through and try and do a little bit of repairing, make it look a little bit prettier on the inside, but I'm not going to go overboard, because if anything, it's just going to work like an extra drain hole. I'll do something to fix it, but yeah, let's see where we end up. I'll be back soon. Alright, well, I fixed most of it, spent about 2 hours on it, got them done. I'm leaving this. I know it's a bit dodgy, but at least now the water will be able to come out still. And the door cover covers it, so you don't even see it. So I'm just going to say that that's a nice scallop for weight reduction. Not fixing any of these bottom ones, because they're kind of irrelevant. Fixed one down here, fixed in here, did here and here, and that's it. So pretty much everywhere you see is done. It's not ideal, but it's a straight door, and I can't be bothered spending another 4 hours fixing the rest, so I'm just going to run it like that. Well, today's been hot as hell, so got to paint this thing around 7:30. It's around 29 degrees now. So I did a little bit of filler work just to get rid of some dings. So now I'm just going to go over and put all you need on this door and give that a real good sand tomorrow. Probably put another coat of all you need on. Hopefully just do a final sand and then get this thing painted. Alright, it was raining yesterday, but I managed to get this sanded, and that's where I ended up with. I'm going to put another few more coats of all you need on, another sand, hopefully it's perfect, and then we can get this thing painted. Alright, so this door is ready to get the paint put on. So I'm just waiting for a friend to bring over some thinners, because I actually ran out of thinners, so just waiting for a friend to bring some over, and yeah, I'm going to get some paint on this. I sanded it with 220 grit, and then went over it with 400 wet and dry. That's pretty much all I do to finish off the panel, and then once I get the paint on, it generally never goes on very good, so I put on an extra few coats. When it dries, I sand the whole panel, and I go over the buffer to get my mirror finish. So in future, what I'm going to try and do is always hang the door up, obviously so I can get in around all the inside and do the top. But obviously when it's hanging up, you're really likely to get runs. And I did get, you probably can barely see them, they're very minor. And then I got one coming just out of here, a little run there. You can just see, it's very minor. It'll buff out, but it's just more work. So I laid the door down, and now I can put the paint on nice and thick without having to worry about runs, because it's laying flat, and it's going on 10 times better. So the buffing process will be a lot better. It's going on heaps better when it lays down flat, because you can literally just really lay it on. So I'm just going to do one more coat on this and it's pretty much done. Well, that turned out heaps better. So there's still obviously a little bit of orange peel, but it's going to make it a lot easier to buff since it's gone on a lot smoother than what it normally does. Door turned out super straight. All that block work paid off. So I'm going to probably wait until maybe tomorrow midday. I just had that out in the sun, but I'll wait till tomorrow midday and I'll do the old sander buff situation on that. And I'll get it fitted to the car. And then I've really just got to do all this stuff. I'm still probably going to be limited to doing one at a time. I might try and do, when I do a door, I might try to do a guard. So I can do a guard on the trolley I've got. I've only got one of these stands. So I might be able to do a door and then a guard at the same time. And then I'll do this door over here. I'll do that door with the other guard. And then maybe might try to do the front apron. And the bonnet. And when I do this bonnet, I'm thinking I'm going to try and get the other side painted, let it dry, and then I'm going to lay it flat and put the paint on so I can get it on as nice as I can, because obviously hanging things up, it's just kind of a lot harder to paint. I suppose that's what separates the good painters to the bad. Good painters can paint on all angles, upside down, everywhere, and the paint will still come out good. And average painters can't do that very well. Probably a bit like welding. So it's easy to weld something that's sitting on a bench in front of you, but if you've got to weld something upside down or sideways and all sorts of weird angles and stuff, it actually gets a lot harder. So, but I don't do welding, painting and all that sort of stuff full time, so I'm just I'd put myself in the below average category with all that sort of stuff, but I'm good at blocking. Well, here we are. Doors all fitted up. Fits in there pretty good. The gaps in this thing aren't, overly perfect, but plenty good for a street car. I'll show you guys how straight it turned out. It actually turned out really good. Really happy how that turned out. Bought one of these rubber boot mats as well. 2 new taillight lenses. Haven't fitted the boot lock yet. But I'm gonna just cut this video short because if I wait until I do the other 2 doors in the front end on this car, I won't be putting a video up for another couple of weeks. So I'll put this one up. I did take the motor out of MCFRY as well. Again. So at Fridays I lost oil pressure just for like a momentary, not long, just like a little bit, and Haltech shut it down. And took it back to the pits and the motor still wasn't making oil pressure, which is very odd. So when I pulled the motor out, we took it out, took it over to Brad's, went through it, had a look, and everything's working like normal now, which is very strange. So confused the hell out of me. The only thing I can put it down to is the relief valve in the oil pump just must have stuck open, and it must have just started working again after the motor come out and we put a drill on it, because it's working fine now, which is very odd. So, but after we had a closer look at the bearings and stuff in the motor, they've got damage. So the heat, because the oil temperature hit 260 Fahrenheit. It's funny because the methanol in the car, because it runs on methanol now, it's kept all the water temperatures down. It just sits around 190 Fahrenheit, so perfect water temperatures. But it's just like the oil in the sump just heat soaks and it can't get out. And every time the oil gets that hot, it's like it just can't do its job anymore. And then that's when the bearings start seeing the damage. So No major damage to the motor at all, so it's not a big deal, but waiting for the dry sump setup and stuff to come and install in the car, and more money and so on and so on. So yeah, the car will be out of action for a few months, so which kind of sucks. And the ute engine should be back somewhere around 5 weeks from now, so all the stuff's in for that. So the roller rockers arrived and everything, so be able to get that back up and running soon. And I'll try to get that to one of the Street Outlaws, the no prep events, not the American one, just one of the Power Cruise ones at the Motorsport Park. So I'll try to get that to one of those probably in April, May, somewhere around there. So see how we go. But yeah, for now, that's why I'm enjoying. I want to try and get this car done so I can just have a reliable street car. So it gets to a point where you got the 1,000,000 horsepower stuff and they just break all the time, and it's just never ending money just throwing at them. So get this thing going and hopefully I can start enjoying cars again. Alright, I'll let you go, and yeah, the next video on this car will probably be just doing the doors, front end, and yeah, we'll just go from there. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and till next time, I'll see you later.